Everybody for showing up here today. This is our second annual Memorial Day ceremony, pre-Memorial Day ceremony. It's by design that we did this last year when the mall team, I worked here for 15 years. I retired in January, and I've been active with Mark and the honor group in doing some of these ceremonies, which we'll talk about a little later. But we did it for a reason as far as start. You guys can sit down. You don't have to stand for me. We did it for a reason because it's important that we start off our Memorial Day weekend knowing what it's all about. One of the guys that worked with my mall team last year came up to me and said, you know, I went through Memorial Day weekend and I thought about what it really meant after you did that ceremony. And it's really important that if nothing else, you take home, you know, you go to your barbecues, you go to your family outings and everything, you remember what it is. And we're going to have some speakers here. They're going to tell you how it feels and their losses and share them with you. But before we get started, we have some royalty here today. I've got World War II veterans, 2 of them, and I've got 1 Korean War veteran. Can I have Bud stand up? Come on, Bud. Come on, Bud. Bud Sargent was in the 3rd Marine Division, 1942 or 7? Bud? 3. Okay, I missed both of them. Bud's always a jokester in one of my classes that I'm in with him, so he's the life of the party, Bud is. Did you get a Purple Heart, Bud? What? Did you get a Purple Heart? Yes. Got a Purple Heart and fought in World War II. And he's more spry than half of us here that are in our, I'm in my 40s, so, you know. No. The next guy I got here, Frank. You want to stand up just for a second? Okay. It's Frank Vincent. Frank Vincent, he enlisted as a naval officer training program 3 days after Pearl Harbor, went from Portland, Oregon to Columbia University, New York to become an ensign. He was further trained in anti-submarine warfare, took command of an air-sea rescue boat operating in the Atlantic. Later was transferred to the Bureau of Naval Personnel, his office in charge of secret and confidential mail, and was offered a promotion as an aide to an admiral, but declined in order to enter civilian life after 5 years of service. Let's give Frank a big hand. And let me find my other paper here. I got so many papers here. Okay. Well, last but not least, Ed Gaucher. Here, go ahead, Ed. I don't know. That's all right. Ed Gaucher, kind of unique because his daughter was my class that graduated from Bella Vista. So you have 7 children or 6? 8 children. Okay. 4 boys, 4 girls. Oh, okay. Well, no wonder you're tired. I'm just kidding you, Ed. Anyways, Ed Gaucher, in 1942, he enlisted at the age of 17. His mother signed him in so he could get on at the age of 17. For the next 4 years, he spent his time stateside in World War II because he was too young to go overseas. 1946, he became part of an Army Air Corps, which eventually became the US Air Force. As he prepared to be a navigator, he then served with the Air Force in bombing missions over Korea in 52 and 53. As a first lieutenant, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for his outstanding skill during action in Korea in April of 1953. The presentation was made by the Deputy Base Commander, Brigadier General Kirkendall, in June of 54 at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. He did an additional tour of Korea in 1960 to 61, served with the 17th Light Bombardment Wing, 5th Air Force. They moved here in 1962, which is when I met your family, and he was stationed at Mather Air Force Base as captain of the radar station. He eventually retired in the U.S. Air Force in 64 with the rank of major, so let's give Ed a hand. You know, it's really special to have people like these guys that served our country, you know, a long time ago. I consider them royalty. I consider Patty, our Gold Star mom, royalty. I got up this morning. I picked up the Sacramento Bee, and I saw that Ace Hardware had some sales for barbecues and chairs. And John L. Sullivan, he's got some sales for cars. And Macy's has a sale. A lot of these different places have sales. But I saw very little about what Memorial Day means. And the hope here is that we hope people will take that and they will know exactly what Memorial Day means as far as the loss of life. When you walk down that aisle, you're going to see 25 pictures of Marines that gave their lives. And one of them, his mother's here to talk today. Proud that we could put up this flagpole last year. We did it in honor of our vets. It'll be here forever. There's a plaque at the bottom dedicated to those who served and those who gave their lives. We created two Wounded Warrior parking spaces out here, which you'll never have another mall, I don't think, around here that you see that in. And anybody that has any kind of disability that's service-related is welcome to park there. That's what they're there for easy access to get inside the mall. I also, doing some research here on Memorial Day, of all the people in the United States, only 1% of people will attend Memorial Day ceremonies. You guys are the 1%, so let's give yourselves a hand for showing up here today. I really, really do. I have some, this doggone wind is driving me crazy. I have some stats from the wars, and I'm not sure if they're current. I got them this week when I researched it. World War II, there were 405,399 lives lost. The Korean War, 36,516. The Vietnam War, 58,220. The Gulf War, 292. Iraq, 4,800. Afghanistan, 2,344. And you go back and you look at the Civil War, 625,000 lives were lost in the Civil War. That's quite a few. I wasn't aware that there was such a big discrepancy. My experience, I'm a Vietnam veteran. 1967, I was in the Army. And in those days, the draft was going. We had three choices. We could burn our draft card, we could run to Canada, or we could step across the line. And we chose to go to war. I was deployed in 67, 68 over there. I went in with 5 guys. We were all high school guys. We played football together, boxed in my backyard, chased girls. We had muscle cars. We did all those things. Some of you don't remember who they are, but the Beach Boys, we listened to those guys. We were all pretty tight. We all went in the Army together. We all ended up in fighting units, infantry units, or something similar. And then we got deployed overseas. And I remember the day that I went to Oakland with my parents, you sat outside in a car and you sat there and kind of waiting to go. We knew we were going to Vietnam. All the parents were there with the kids that were going. And one of the kids' parents, he was a kid from Fremont. His parents had to go to a party or something, so they left early. And he came and he came over to our car with us and sat with me because he didn't have anybody to sit with. And he was killed in December of that year, 68. And I can't imagine how much his parents wish they could have had that extra 2 hours. My 5 friends, out of 5 of us, I was the only one that lasted a year in Vietnam. I was in what they call a LURP unit. I was infantry. Then I went to jungle warfare training, and I was out with 3 other guys in the jungle, and we were doing ambushes on the VC and NVA and doing prisoner snatches, things like that. My other buddies were in infantry units. And I'll never forget the day in March of 68. We had snail mail then. We didn't have all the fancy stuff that we have now. We didn't have Skype. We didn't have cell phones or any of those kind of things. And I got a letter, and my mom told me that Denny Showers, he's out there in Fair Oaks, he was killed. And I remember my mom telling me in the letter that those 4 parents had to go to the funeral while I was still in Vietnam. And I can't for the life of me imagine what that was like to them to go to a funeral and know that I was the only one left in Vietnam, worrying about me because I wasn't going to get out until July. it was emotional, and that's just kind of my story as far as how some of the things that impacted me as far as Vietnam goes. There's a lot of things that impacted me. On May 28th, we're going to have the Vietnam Wall coming here to Roseville. It's a moving wall, and if you haven't gone, I was fortunate enough to have it go to it in Washington, D.C., and then I went when it was at Mount Vernon. You're going to go there, you're going to see a lot of guys crying. It's emotional, and veterans and regular people that didn't serve are going to cry. It's an experience you need to go see. It's listed all the people that were killed in the war, and the Vietnam War was my war. Everybody has their own war. I'm in a veterans group, and we sit around and we tell about wars, and everybody's war is different. We may be in the same place, but we have different wars. During the best estimate, I did some research, between 2.7 million and 3.1 million people were in Vietnam, between 54 and 75. Right now, there's 850,000 Vietnam veterans left. It's not a lot. These World War II veterans that we have, they're relics, and not relics, I don't mean it in a bad way, but all right, you're a relic, okay. Bud is, and these guys are royalty as far as I'm concerned, and I walk up and I salute them because they were the guys that led the way for us, and I think we were the guys, I talked to Captain K, we were the guys that led the way for the Marine Corps, or for the guys coming back now. But anyways, 850,000 are still alive. There'll be a day in another 10 or 15 years, I'll get to be a relic. And if I'm still around, hopefully. Now I want to give you a little history about the Vietnam Wall before I turn it over to my good friend Mark. Probably some things you don't know about the Vietnam Wall. 58,267 names on the wall. There's 3 sets of fathers and sons on the wall. The youngest person on the wall was 15 years old. 8,283 were 19 years old. The largest age group in Vietnam that were on the wall, 33,103 people. 12 soldiers on the wall were 17 years old. 5 soldiers on the wall were 16 years old. And like I said, that one soldier, PFC Dan Bullock, he was 15 years old, and he's on the wall. The first day of Vietnam, on a person's first day, 997 soldiers were killed their first day in Vietnam. It's a lot of people. The last day in Vietnam, 1,448 people were killed in Vietnam. 31 sets of brothers on the wall, and 31 sets of parents lost their sons. There's 8 women on the wall, nursing the wounded, and 244 soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor during the Vietnam War. 153 of them are on the wall. Just in closing, I have a lot more stats, but we're going to keep it to what we should be doing. Recently, we did I've been partnering with Mark, and we did an honors tour, sacrifice tour at Del Oro High School, and I think it's the first one we ever did, isn't it? Second one, I missed the first one. I was working then, yes. Anyways, I have to tell you that school, they put an assembly together, 2,000 kids, and they lined all the vets up in the back, and the kids came in, and we had several guest speakers. We had a double amputee. We had several speakers, and they had us vets come in, and we came in and they played Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, and they had us march in, and the lights dimmed and the spotlight went on us, and I'm telling you, 2,000 kids screaming USA, USA for 10 minutes. It was a welcome home we never got, but it meant a lot. And I firmly believe the reason that I got involved, I'm retired. I was a policeman for almost 20 years, and I've been here for 15. I was head of security. That I've retired and thrown my life into working with my brother here, Mark. And we're hoping that the things we do bring reality to what's gone on as far as the wars go, the losses. And I just talk about Vietnam like I say it was my war. And I know I have a neighbor, I don't know where he is, if Alan's here still, but he was in Afghanistan and came back. And there's Robert Burns here, his brother gave his life over there. Every time I see him, we cry. So everybody has their own piece of their heart that goes out to war veterans.